Back to my take, top of the hour. I was saying that essentially President Trump on foreign policy has done a 180. Gordon Chang is with us this morning. I believe that the president is getting some help from China vis-a-vis North Korea. Now what? Because the North Koreans are reportedly getting ready another nuclear test. What do we do now?
Yeah, I think the important thing here is that Beijing probably leaned on Pyongyang not to go forward with that nuke test. And that's why we didn't see it before the big Saturday parade when everybody, including me, expected it. But it was clear that at Mar-a-Lago, Trump shoots off those 59 Tomahawks. He hits a Chinese friend, Syria. And so from that point onward, I thought essentially they weren't going to test on at least by Saturday, because what's happened now is that China is really leaning on North Korea because they're afraid of Trump.
But is it really leaning on North Korea?
They're doing so. Yeah, they're doing so for the next few weeks or so, because this is a pattern we've seen in the past. When the U.S. pays attention to China and North Korea, the Chinese always do the right thing. When we start paying attention someplace else in the world or domestically, then the Chinese go back to the old way of doing things, which is supporting North Korea. We're going to see the same thing now unless Trump keeps the pressure on. And that's really the big issue. We heard H.R. McMaster, the National Security Advisor, saying that this problem's coming to a head. That message, not only for Pyongyang, it's for Beijing.
Do you think that President Trump would make a preemptive strike against a nuclear site in North Korea if he felt and intelligence told him that they are indeed about to test a nuke? You think he'd do it?
I don't think so, because we won't know. They've already buried the nuke into that tunnel. They've sealed the tunnel. They've completed all the initial preparations. We're not going to see what happens next. The one thing that has occurred is that Kim Jong-un, the North Korean ruler, is going to make a political decision. He's going to pick up the phone. We can't see that from space. We don't have the intelligence on the ground in Pyongyang. So we're not going to know when that thing goes off, except when the ground shakes.
Okay, when the ground shakes, they did a nuclear test. Do you think that President Trump would then take some military action directly against North Korea? Because that really raises the stakes, doesn't it?
It raises the stakes, and also Trump has made it very clear that that shouldn't happen. I don't think that we'll do that, but I do think that we will use non-kinetic means to go after the North Koreans. So, for instance, we can tighten those sanctions. And more important, we can put sanctions on Chinese banks and financial institutions that have been supporting the North Korean ballistic missile program, its nuke program, and involved in illicit commerce.
And you think that President Trump threatened the Chinese with that and said, look, if you don't really get a grip on this, all hell breaks loose?
I'm pretty sure, because Trump officials have been talking to the press unofficially for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, talking about secondary sanctions on Chinese companies. So the message must have also been given at Mar-a-Lago. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, so I didn't hear, but I'm sure that that was part of the conversation.
But I'm reading between the lines here. It seems like President Trump's meeting with Xi Jinping was a success from America's point of view.
From America's point of view, and that's really a change, because oftentimes in these big summits, the Chinese get to delay everything, and that's what they want, because they've got everything out of this relationship that they want. It's up for us to change the dynamic. I hope Trump can do it.
Okay. Gordon Chang, as always, thanks very much for joining us. Appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, Stuart.
All right.